Welcome back, everyone. It's been a long time since I've done a review of anything, and this time I want to do a first impression review of the new Solos Hold V2, their second generation hilt that they put out just recently. Actually, it just came out this week. I got mine a couple days ago. I've had a chance to go over it and look at it, put everything together, and I kind of want to put this out there for everyone. I know a bunch of you have this on order and are probably waiting for it to arrive. Some of you are probably just getting it this weekend. So if you guys are kind of itching at the bit and you want to see what this is like, I'm going to try to put this video out and show everyone what we got coming. This is not going to be an assembly video. Aaron did that already. If you want to check at the Solos Hold, either his YouTube page or he might have posted it on the Facebook. I know it's on the Rebel Armory. You can check out the assembly video there. I basically am just going to kind of go top to bottom looking at the hilt. I'm going to show you how it connects by the clamp, and I'm going to kind of also compare it to their Gen 1 V2 hilt. Now, the Gen 1 V2 hilt from them was the gold standard for a couple of years. That came out in 2015, I believe, towards the end of 2015. And for a while, that was really the only game in town. And then recently, over the last year or two, there have been other vendors that have put out their version of the V2. I know that KR Sabers put out a V2 recently. Roman Props just put out a steel version of the V2. RPK Customs has put out, I believe he's on his 4th generation of his V2. And of course, there was the Anakin Starkiller run of 2018. He did a first ever FX run. Before that, it was pretty much just, he had done some static V2s, but the FX run was kind of big for, obviously, this community. And that one, I have one of those, just unfortunately it's with Jordan Eugene right now. I sent that to him back in May of 2018. I haven't heard from him as of recently to try to get that back. I'm working on it. I'm hoping I get that back at some point in time. I would have loved to have compared the two because I really did enjoy that hilt. So I'm hoping at some point I can get that. But onto the new Solos Hold V2. So this thing pretty much comes together for the most part. It does not come with a clamp. It does not come with a clamp card. I have on here a vintage clamp that I had waiting for this hilt to come in. But pretty much it comes nice wrapped up and everything. I've taken out some of the set screws so that I can easily just move some of the parts in and out, but I'll tell you how that all works in a minute. This hilt empty feels pretty nice. It really does have a pretty good weight to it, especially towards the bottom portion. I mean, some of that is going to be from the clamp, but some of that, the pommel itself and the booster section feel great. So let me just show you here. Now, this was one thing that was similar to the Anakin Starkiller run, was that these little set screws in here that kind of jet out a little bit go into these little J slots, and they lock in. Okay, and that's how the saber stays in place. Oh, you separate the upper and the lower half. And the Anakin Starkiller run, I believe, only had 2 slots. It didn't have 3 like this one here. So the clamp just sits over nice. I reached out to Aaron just to make sure that you had to sand down the tabs on the inside of the clamp on this one, and you do. That may have been obvious to some people, but I just wanted to double check before I go and shave anything down on a vintage clamp that I'm not supposed to. So once that's in and locked tight, that's all pretty much set. That's not going anywhere. There are no threads on this hilt at all, with the exception of the cup inside the emitter that threads into the neck. So the emitter itself is not threaded, okay? And as you can see, this will actually spin, all right? The first hilt that I saw do this was the Anakin Starkiller V2. The Gen 1 does not do that. That's a threaded, that's actually a one solid piece, actually. The RPK Customs is the only one I'm not sure about, but I'm pretty sure the KR Sabers V2 and the Roman Props V2 do not have a spinning emitter. I know that the RPK, he's done multiple variations of it, so he may have adapted to make his spin. You know, anyone who has one can obviously correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm not saying he does or he doesn't. I'm just not sure. But this is a nice touch because the real V2 prop does still spin. And the one nice thing that Solos Hold was able to do, actually I should say Nerfworks Lab, is that Scott Juarez, who was a part of Nerfworks Lab, was able to get his hands on the V2. He actually spent some time with it, was able to get in touch with the owner of it, went out there, and was able to take measurements. So he got the proper dimensions. I'm not sure like how they did scans or if they just used calipers and things like that to get the proper measurements. But he was able to see things that other people have not been able to see yet, even with all the recent pictures from the Star Wars Celebration a couple of years ago where the V2 hilt actually came out. Or the new pictures of the V2 came out. So Scott was able to obviously collaborate with Solo's Hold again to come up with this new version. And we have some new things on here that have not been on the previous generation, and so I want to kind of go through that. But I thought obviously one of the coolest things for me was having this spinning emitter. And obviously you can see here, there's this little lip, this little almost like indented area around the nipple itself. That is accurate to the prop as well. What's nice about this is that there are 2 set screws in here. These work as blade retention. These go all the way in. You have pretty long set screws. I've already taken them off on either side that go through, and then that will go into the cup, and it also acts as blade retention. So this comes off here, and as you can see, I like how they actually did the nipple with this, because it's just this little cap almost that sits right inside this cup that they have. Okay, so that comes off, and again, this has the broken blade piece that's in there, again with 2 set screws on either side, accurate to the prop to hold that in place. So inside here, you can see there is a cup. There's a copper heat sink for Tri-Cree. There's the cup that then threads into the neck. It's not a long thread piece. It's probably just going down into the weather vane section here, but or the wind vane section. But it's kind of short. But there's a spacer in there that allows this emitter to actually spin. Okay, and you can see inside that stays firm. When I did first get this and I put this all together, it wasn't able to really spin too well. What would end up happening is it would spin like a hair, and then as I went to go in reverse, the whole thing would either thread or unthread. So I had to get in there, and I used some steel wool on where the 2 pieces, where the cup and the emitter meet up on the inside, to maybe create a little bit more space. I'm not sure if the metal was touching, or if there was friction happening, which is why it was catching and causing that. But after I used some steel wool, and I even put some lubricant in there, after that, it spins great. So no problems with that at all. Let's see. The one thing I really like in here, again, going through the spacing, the different spacing in between the rings, I thought this was great. Again, replicating the accuracy of the real prop. The V2 lever is different from the original. So this is the original, okay? And you can see the difference between the two. The original one from the Gen 1 is a little bit fatter, not as shiny, different material. This is almost like pure aluminum, it looks like. The V2 here, this new lever is, I believe, nickel plated from what Aaron had been saying. You can just see the little curl in the lip at the end is different from this one here. All right. But everything else is all held together by set screws. Okay, so the pommel is held in the booster via this set screw here. Okay, so you have a static pommel like this, and then you have the FX pommel, which is identical with just the exception of the holes in the bottom here to kind of go in if you're going to switch these out, if you are going to make this an FX hilt. But I do like the fact that if you wanted to make it static, you could, and you just want to get the correct orientation of the mystery chunk and the cone knob. Now the new mystery chunks, these are all made, the ones that come shipped to you are in steel, which again, from what Scott had seen, that's the real material of it. So like Aaron said on his assembly video, these will eventually start to rust and age just like the actual prop. The cone knob itself seems to be aluminum. The only thing that I don't see on either pommel cube is there's a milling mark on the actual V2 prop from what we've been able to see in pictures. It's this little circular, almost like a stamp, and it's, I don't know if it's raised or depressed. There's been debates on that on the RPF, but that was missing on the pommel. Now, Scott had seen this thing up front and close, so I don't know if there's something in the photos that maybe we missed, but there was that circular notch. It has been put on, I know the Anakin Starkiller hilt, and I believe even the RPK Customs had it on his as well. So again, I don't know if that's supposed to be there or not, but I was just curious as to why it wasn't on this. So other than that, if you take a look at the two pommels, you can take a look at the pommel cubes and already see a big difference. So the pommels on the V2 on the new Gen 2 are much chunkier. They're taller in height compared to the Gen 1. The lever position, I'm sorry, not the lever position, the D-ring is also in a different position. You can see here on the original it was in the middle, where on the new Gen 2 it is in the correct position. So I have, the reason why I didn't put the D-rings on yet, because I'll probably be doing some, obviously I'm going to be doing the weathering to this, but I have a vintage D-ring that I am going to be using for the new Gen 2, at least on the static pommel. On the FX pommel, Solo Soul does send you an accurate D-ring for this, which I am going to put on and I'll use with this guy here with the FX. But for the static, I'm definitely going to be using my vintage one. And okay, so on this Solo's hold here, you can see height-wise. I hope this comes out well. Now that one, it would help if I actually put the nipple back in. There we go. So these guys are pretty much the same height. There are differences though. If you look down, you can see the Gen 2, the clamp sits a little bit lower than on the Gen 1. And then we get to the ring section, you can see the neck is definitely fatter on the Gen 2 than on the Gen 1. And then you can see up in here, up in the weather vane section in here, you can see there's, I'm hoping this is going to come out on the video here, there's a slight angle on this, on the new Gen 2, compared to it's definitely flatter on the Gen 1. Okay, there's a little lip in here coming off of the ring section. You can see a little step down that's right there. Not really apparent in the Gen 1, as well as down in near the pommel section. Just a little bit more detailing as well in between the booster and the pommel. All right. So we can definitely see there have been quite a few changes. And of course, with the Gen 1, this had a spinning emitter cap that you would switch out between the static and the FX. So there were no visible set screws with the cap, which is great for most hilts, but the actual V2 hilt did have set screws, and they've gone back and they've rectified that. And on the Gen 1, there's only one set screw at the nipple here, where on the actual prop and on the new Gen 2, they have both, okay? So we have both set up here to 180 degrees apart from one another. And then the same thing on the emitter. So here's one, and then there's two. This is your FX cap. There's a little lip on the inside of this, okay? So even though the hole is I believe this almost fits like a 1 inch, but you can only do a 7/8 inch blade because of how it's going to sit inside here. So you're gonna have to have recessed blade if you're doing NeoPixel. I think there's a NeoPixel. I think they're trying to figure out a better way for the NeoPixel to actually occur so you can have better blade depth so you don't have to do it recessed. Obviously this is set up right now for a tri-cree using the copper heatsink. Hold on, let's fix that the right way. There we go. Okay, so that's what it basically looks like if you're just doing the FX hilt and how that will sit in there nice. But guys, yeah, so far, very, very happy with this. I know people are going to go nuts over, there's going to be a lot of talk about accuracy. How accurate is it? Is it 100% accurate? I don't know if props, if replicated props are ever going to be 100% accurate to the original. I think you can get real close. I think the fact that Scott had his hands on it gives Solo's Hold a huge advantage in some things that other people may have missed just from looking at photos and other references. But the fact that they were able to get their hands on it, I think, says a lot. I think, accuracy gets, most accurate, or I think that gets used a little loosely. I myself, I'm guilty of it. I think I've done that a couple of times, maybe even jumped the gun a little bit with some replicated props before. But this one here, I think this one is a great looking hilt. It looks to be very close to the actual V2 that's in the film. I'm really looking forward to people starting to weather these up. Trooper Trent he just released a message the other day saying that he's just waiting on a hilt, and once he gets it, he'll be able to get the data and the specs so that he can put his stencils together and get those out to people that want them. Also, Goth is doing a chassis for this. I'll be really interested to see how that's going to look, especially with the way this opens up. I think there's going to probably be a really nice reveal when that comes out, so I'm really looking forward to that. I mean, Nerfworks Lab has done such a great collaboration in the past with a lot of their hilts, so I have no doubt they're going to give us something special with this one as well. But this is the only run that they are going to do, that they're saying. So it seems like they are not going to be doing another run. So if you want this hilt, I highly suggest going and getting it now. You might find some sold secondhand after the run's completely 100% sold out, but get your hands on it now while you can. I will probably do a NeoPixel with a crystal chamber in this guy. I don't think I'm going to do a static build with this, but I am really looking forward to it. I'm really happy they went back and gave us a second run, or a second generation, I should say. They've really done a great job, and I think it's a fabulous looking hilt. Everything is nice and smooth, okay? My pommel cubes are great. I don't feel anything sharp on here. The rings feel really, really good. Again, nothing up in the weather vane section or even near the emitter that seems sharp or anything like that. I just think it was a really, really well done hilt. You can order, and the one nice thing that Solo's Hold did this time around is that they made these accessory parts. You can buy them on their website. I know you can definitely buy the cone knob and the mystery chunk. And the mystery chunk you can either buy in steel or aluminum. I actually went back and I just purchased a second steel one, so I don't have to keep taking it off and putting it on the FX pommel. So I got a separate one for this. I believe you can go and get the V2 lever as well. So if you wanted to go back and either upgrade your Gen 1 hilt, which I think I'm just going to leave mine as is. I don't think I'm going to change mine. But, that's whatever you end up wanting to do. A lot of people will go back and make, some people can't go back and grab, have both hilts. So get the accessories, which are a little bit cheaper, and then just, upgrade your accessories on your Gen 1. That's great. Or if you have a different vendor that you're like, I want these parts because they're more realistic or more accurate than what I have, then go and grab those. If they, again, checking to make sure that they will fit. But yeah, pretty happy overall with this, guys. I think everyone's going to really enjoy it once you get it, for those that have ordered it. I can't wait to see these things weathered. I know people are going to be probably putting them together soon enough. Once Goth releases the chassis and Trent has his stencils out, some people are going to freehand weather it, and those look great too. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what people come up with. But guys, yeah, I think with that, I'm gonna sign off. If you have any questions, please ask below. I will do my best, as always, to answer whatever I can. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and yeah, good luck putting all these together. All right, take care, everyone. Have a great afternoon.